Welcome to Scorpio Soul Time. I'm Ronique, and I appreciate you joining me here on my YouTube channel. Scorpio Soul Time is where we come together every lunation cycle, which occurs about every 2 weeks, where we look at the energies and aspects that are going on up in the heavens, because as they say, as above, so below. So whatever transits, aspects are occurring between the planets are directly affecting us here on Earth. So thank you so much for joining me here. I appreciate all of my new subscribers. My following has really picked up. I think a lot of people are resonating with the messages, but also I've heard a lot of people say that they have come to me through my Learning Tarot playlist. So please, if you want to learn tarot, look down in my playlist. There is a beginner's tarot playlist that there's a major arcana video, as well as all of the 4 suits of cups, wands, pentacles, and swords, and learning about how all of these can affect your life. And I appreciate you all just liking, subscribing, and commenting. So thank you so much. So today we're actually going to talk about the full moon in Aquarius that occurs on July 23rd, 2021 at 10:36 p.m. And I want to show you here, this is a very interesting lunation cycle because we're actually going to have 2 full moons in this lunation cycle. So we're going to have this first one on July 23rd, and then we'll have the next one, I believe it's around August 26th. But we will have this first one that is, you can see the sun here is at 1 degree and 26 minutes of Leo, and it's sitting across the sky at the moon in Aquarius at 1 degree and 26 minutes. So it's really interesting because since we're at this beginning degree of Aquarius and the sun, and by the way, the sun just did move into Leo, so happy birthday to all the Leo babies out there. But this moon is like at the very beginning of Aquarius, and so this is important for a lot of different reasons. For one, this 1 degree was actually where we had the Great Conjunction back in December of 2020. It was on December 21st. And so that time of the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction that occurred on December 21st was this culmination point of something beginning a cycle, or something when that Saturn and Jupiter came together at that exact moment. It was almost like a major reset. And I invite you to look down in the playlist and look for that Saturn conjunction video. It was actually the same video as that solar eclipse in Sagittarius. So if you look in the eclipse playlist, you can quickly get to it. But I invite you to look at that video before kind of like entering this full moon in Aquarius season. I'm just going to call it Aquarius full moon season because it's 2 full moons, because this is really going to be almost like a enlightening, or there might be some information that has come through around Aquarius. Remember, Aquarius is this air energy, but it's also a fixed sign, which means it's of the self, meaning like Aquarius is that energy of how the individual feels about themselves, but also how they relate to their community, or they relate to a whole. Aquarius energy is always like, I call it that superhero energy, where it's like, how can you make the world greater on your own, but also how can you relate to your community as a whole, and for everyone to come together as a whole to improve their community. So this Aquarius full moon energy is going to be really interesting because it's like a dynamic energy, because it's illuminating some kind of information or something bringing clarity maybe in your mental life. There could be something back in February when we had all of the stellium of planets in Aquarius. This is really like this time of connecting back to yourself and trying to figure out where is it that you need clarity, but what is it that may need to shed away and you no longer need? Because remember, a full moon, remember when the sun is sitting across from the moon, it's illuminating something. It's bringing culminations or endings to some part of your life. And so at this time, I want to show you, I just got this new oracle book and deck that is actually called Moonology, and it's these oracle cards that just highlight the moon phases in the different signs. So I really love it because it really it goes through literally all the different moon cycles, whether it's a full moon in Aquarius like we're going through, a void of moon. So I really am going to start pulling one of these each time we have a lunation cycle, because I think it goes perfectly with Scorpio soul time in terms of us highlighting the lunation cycle. So if it's something you're interested in getting, it's Moonology Oracle cards, and it's by Yasmin Boland if you are interested in it. And today I actually pulled the first card for the full moon in Aquarius, and it says, show the world the real you. And so I think this is really important at this time because, like I just said, Aquarius is this individual, how do we feel about ourselves, but also like how do we relate to the community? How do we relate to the whole? And so I'm going to read you this little bit from the Moonology book because I think it's really important to think through at this full moon, especially since we're going to have 2 full moons. I think this is really going to be interesting because the first degree is that young energy, and so this might be either the beginning of an energy or it could be the end from, like I said, that Saturn Jupiter conjunction. But then at the end of August, when we have that 28th or 29th degree full moon in Aquarius, it's going to be more of a mature energy. Okay, so keep that in mind as I read this. So it says, this card brings the message from the cosmos that you need to detach a little from whatever situation you're asking about. Someone might be keeping you at arm's length now, but it's no bad thing. It's important for you to allow life to unfold and progress, even if change seems like a frightening prospect. If you've been holding yourself back from showing the world the real you, this card reminds you that your unique characteristics are what make you special. In a relationship, are you being too aloof or detached? Go ahead and be yourself in whatever is coming up for you. And so I think that's really important to remember, that it's not just about you, it's also about your relationship to other people. So I just want you to keep that in mind as we pull cards today for the full moon in Aquarius, okay? So I really like those oracle cards. So I think I'm going to continue using those each time just to kind of give us a framework of what the oracle messages are behind the lunation cycle. I'm going to point out a few more things in the astrology before we get to the cards today. So we did not talk about the sun. So of course the sun is the most powerful planet, right, in our solar system, but with the sun in Leo, this is Leo's ruling sign. And so the sun and Leo has to do with, that really has to do with yourself, but like how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself. And since it is illuminating the Aquarius moon, there's all this sense of self, right? Like there's the individual and how they relate to the whole Aquarius, but then Leo really is that, how do we, like, mind, body, soul, connect with ourselves? And Leo, the higher vibrational of energy of Leo is more of that courageous, what is it that you need to step into? But then it can also, the lower vibrational can be like conceit, and you're selfish and you're not thinking about anyone else. So at this full moon in Aquarius, I want you to remember throughout this next 28 days, there's going to be themes of how are you looking at yourself compared to others? How are you feeling about yourself? Where is it that you need to take more control over your feelings, over your mental energy, over how you react to people? Because remember, Leo is that fire energy. So that quick, are you just like snapping at people and going off on people when, things aren't going right for you? This is going to really kind of be a checking energy, I'm calling it, because it's like you're going to have to check yourself. Like, are you finding that you're putting too much energy into other people and not enough into yourself? Or are you putting too much energy into yourself and not like your family, and not your community, not your colleagues at work? So remember that as we go through these lunations cycles, because it's going to be really important, because this first moon in Aquarius, full moon we're going to have, then we will have that new moon in Leo, and then we will go back to that full moon, another full moon in Aquarius. So this is really going to be some potent energy that sticks around with us for a while. Lastly, before we get to the cards, I want to point out that at this full moon, Saturn in Aquarius down here is going to also square Uranus over here in Taurus. And so at that time, there could be like learning lessons around money, possessions, new ways of thinking about your possessions could come up, security. But remember, this is Uranus, so this could be like stuff out of the blue. So just keep that in mind as we do move through some of these cycles. We still have Jupiter in Pisces, but Jupiter is at the 0 degrees, so it's literally going to be back into Aquarius soon. And Venus and Mars up here are both opposite Jupiter at this time in Pisces at 0 degrees retrograde. So possible relationship themes could expand or become more on Front Street, if you will, than you would like things to be. So it could be a little uncomfortable, or it could be great news comes through about your relationships. So just keep that in mind, because we did have that Mars and Venus conjunction just last week. So there still is like some energy around how you see yourself, your relationships, how kind of like the female and male roles are in your life. But with that Jupiter opposition at Pisces at 0 degrees, it could be much like emotional. It could be like in your feelings. It could be something needs to end. So be prepared for those energies as well. Okay, so I know that was like a lot of astrology on the front end, but I think it's really important to keep those thoughts and themes in your mind as we go through today's tarot reading, because I think it's going to be interesting to see if reoccurring themes come from back in December or the beginning of this year, or if these are almost like ending energies, and when we pull cards at the end of August, if we kind of see those energies again. So that will be really interesting. Okay, so we are going to do the singing bowl. And I like to tell everyone the singing bowl is really important because it helps clear the energy from a vibrational standpoint, but it also helps you kind of like get ready for the messages. It helps me be able to tune into the messages, but I think it also helps you be able to hone in on what messages you want to not only hear, but what questions do you have pertaining to this lunation cycle. I think the singing bowl helps those messages come clearer to us as I pull cards. All right, so let's get started. Okay, beautiful. All right, you all, let's get into it. So today we are going to pull a past, present, and future spread. For those of you who have been watching Scorpio Soul Time for a while, you know I love to use my Modern Witch Tarot deck, which is by Lisa Sterrell. So feel free to look that up and get those cards if interested. And let's get underway. So today we want to think about the themes of the full moon in Aquarius. So these could be themes around your individual self, how you feel like you might have endings or culminations, more information has come through, depending on where you were back in December. This could relate to those type of themes. It could also be energy around Leo, right? Because the Leo sun is sitting across the sky from the Aquarius moon. So this could be, especially since we are at this beginning degree of Leo and beginning degree of Aquarius, this could be energy that is fresh and new. It might not even be something that we are aware of yet, or maybe has been kind of like hidden in the past, and now maybe little bits of information or kind of like breadcrumbs are being dropped, as I like to think of it. So let's pull a past, present, and future card. Let's put these over here. Okay, I like to cut the deck 3 times. And I just heard turn over the bottom card. So we have the 10 of Wands in reverse. Very interesting because 10s usually mean culminations, something coming to an end. With it in reverse and Wands being a fire sign, this might mean something in this Leo season needs to come to an end, but you're not ready for it to come to an end. So just be aware of that, because I really heard that right as I was pulling the cards. So let's see what we have here. So in the past, we have the Queen of Cups. In the present, look at that. We have another 10 of Swords. So that is air energy, which is Aquarius. So something definitely is needing to come to an end at this full moon. We literally have 2 10s, both of them in reverse. So there might be something you need to let go of that you are fighting letting go of. And in the future, Judgment in reverse. And that is a major arcana card. Number 20 usually means the ending of a cycle of where you feel like you're either going to be judged or you might be judging someone else. But I think it's interesting because, like I said at the beginning of this video, this is a ending energy. So full moons bring something to culmination. So there's something here that the universe is telling us we need to let go of, but maybe we're fighting trying to let go. So let's look at these. So the Queen of Cups is, you can see this queen sitting on her throne. She has her feet in the water. Part of her is in the sand. So there is this motherly energy of emotional grounding, possibly. With it being cups, it could also mean it's a water sign, a Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces. But remember, we just came out of Cancer season. So this might be some type of energy around a mother, a motherly figure. Remember, Cancer is that energy of home, family, children. So this might be something in the past that relates to your family, relates to some kind of emotional ties or energy that you've been trying to work through. I think it's interesting that this is the only This is the only card we got that actually is more of a lighter energy. These are all kind of heavy, if you will. And since it's in the past, it's almost like you have moved past an emotional part of your life. This may have been a very happy time, or you may have had someone that was helping you through an emotional time. But as we move into the present, which is going to be at this full moon in Aquarius, let me turn it right side up so you can see. So this Ten of Swords is very interesting to me because you can see how the dark clouds, and she has her cell phone in her hand. I think it's really fitting for us in this modern day where it's almost like, wait a minute, I just need to read that last text, or wait a minute, I just need to do this one last thing. But the universe and, spirit is saying, okay, it's time to be done. It's time to be done with that phase of your life. Put down the phone and move on. And so I think that with it in reverse, remember this Aquarius energy that we are coming into and that we've basically been in for most of 2021, because remember, Jupiter, Saturn, have been in Aquarius, in and out for these last 5-6 months. So there is this energy of like, what is it that you haven't let go of yet and that you're trying to let go of, but maybe you haven't yet. And I think, like I said a few minutes ago, it's interesting how the Ten of Wands, which represent a fire energy, which could be Leo, the Swords, which represent air energy, which could be Aquarius. This is basically the full moon right here. Like, the 10 is the culmination point. Something needs to end. You need to let go. The 10 of Wands is telling you you've been carrying too many burdens. This could also be a positive energy, meaning like maybe there's been something that you have been carrying for too long. You have been mentally, belaboring or begrudging, whatever you want to say, too long. And so this energy to me is almost like, what is it that you are still holding on to, but you need to move past? Because once we get to the future, which is the Judgment card, and let me turn it around, this is literally like, I always call it like the pearly gates, that judgment of when we all pass on to the next life. How are we going to be judged for how we performed, how we lived this life? So whether it's karma, you can look at it as karmic cycles. The Judgment card usually has to do with these people are all holding their hands up like, okay, we are ready to move on. We are ready to be judged for either, some people believe it's our sins. Some people believe it's whatever karmic cycles we have gone through, good or bad. How is it that we will now be judged? And so I think it's interesting that that too was in reverse. And so there's something that we're holding on to from this Aquarius full moon energy. And like I had said at the beginning of this video, I think that it will be interesting to see as we move through this Leo season, is there something that we need to let go of? Is it going to be gone? Would we have let go of it by the time we get to the end of August? Or is it part of a bigger cycle? Is it part of that Saturn-Jupiter conjunction, which usually only happens like every, I forgot how many years, but I mean, it's huge cycles, right? I think it's like every 200 years you have like that exact conjunction. So I think that we definitely are into some energy that we need to figure out what is it that maybe has outlived its welcome. I'm going to pull some clarifying cards to see how is it that this Queen of Cups, this Ten of Swords, and this Judgment card are playing out. I mean, this one is probably a very straightforward reading. It's almost like I don't even need to pull clarifier cards, because this right here, this Ten of Wands and this Ten of Swords, like that is the full moon in Aquarius. That is the Leo sun. This is the moon in Aquarius, and that Judgment card is saying it's time for you to figure out how how do you want to be judged? You know what I mean? Like, where is it in your life that you need to let go of something? Or where is it that you might be judging someone else? So that's another thing to think of. Sometimes this energy can also be, how is it that you are treating others? Because remember that Aquarius energy isn't always just about the self. It's about the self, but it's also how you interact with people around you, with your community, with society. So I think that that's an interesting part of this Aquarian energy too. So let me cut the deck and let's clarify that Queen of Cups. Look at that. So we got the Judgment card again. So I'm not even going to go any further because the energies are already very clear. So basically with these two judgments, we're basically being told you need to figure out what you need to let go of. You've been carrying too much over these past months. There's a karmic cycle that is ready for you, but you aren't ready for it. Does that make sense? With this Judgment card, since they're both in reverse, you are still working through some karmic cycles. You are still trying to figure out, and we're all trying to figure out, what is it that we either mentally, maybe it has to do with some kind of passion project, people around us, emotional energy, family energy. There's something here that's saying we're working through a karmic cycle that either needs to come to an end, or we need to get to a point where these turn right side up. And with all of this energy that is in reverse, it means we are almost hitting like a, I don't want to say a brick wall, but it's like we're having angst about it. We're not able to clearly just move through the pearly gates. We're not, when we're like looking up to the heavens and saying, okay, we're ready to move on, the universe is saying you're not ready yet. Like, for two Judgment cards to come out, this means like we're working through a karmic cycle, and each of us need to figure out how we will answer to, you know, the powers that be to move us on. So I think that this is really a powerful cycle we're going through. Me personally, I'm a Scorpio moon and sun, but I'm actually an Aquarius rising. And so what I have noticed about myself, anytime we go through these Aquarian cycles, I get more almost like downloads and information around things about myself. So like right now I'm going through like a health kind of cycle where it's kind of like, okay, Ronique, what new ways can you, you know, up the ante on your health, whether it's like getting better vitamins, or whether it's exercising in different ways, or whether it is drinking and eating better, more organically. So it's like I've been going through these cycles all my life. And so I feel like this year, especially with that Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in December, I've been getting just like, as I'm kind of been like a cosmic reset for me and my health. And so I think that that's what Aquarius does. It tells you, it gives you these signs of like, how are you in your own self improving yourself? Or if you're not improving yourself, what is it that is holding you back? And that's another thing I'm getting with these 10 of Wands and 10 of Swords. Something is holding all of us back in some area of our life. And in order for us to move forward in a more almost like holistic way, the Aquarius judgment part of this is kind of telling me like, this Aquarius full moon cycle, it's not going to be quick. It's not going to be something that you just like figure out in a day. It's definitely a cycle. But I do think the positivity of this is that this emotional Queen of Cups, it's almost like that mother saying you're going to be okay. Like, I'm here for you. That Cancerian energy seems like it's still like trying to help us through this. So even if it's a little rough, Maybe if it's a little hard, like this right here is not easy energy. Like none of this is like easy. Because the 2 10s, and then each judgment card is a major arcana card, and those are 2 10s each. So that's a 20, a 20, a 30, a 40. So that's like a lot of endings, a lot of culminations, a lot of like energy around, okay, it's time to move on, let go, and move forward. So I can't wait to see what happens as we move through to that new moon in Leo, and then to that last, or I should say that next second full moon of Aquarian energy, just to see how this all plays out. Okay, you all, well, thank you so much. This was probably one of the easier readings because there wasn't too much like, okay, I don't understand. It was just like, boom, the sun, you know, the sun, the moon, Leo, Aquarius, judgment, endings, all really clear. So thank you all for joining me. I appreciate your time, and please join me next time on Scorpio Soul Time. And like I said, look back at that solar eclipse in Sag video that happened on end of December of 2020. It's down in the playlist, and I'll talk to you all later. Have a great season. Bye.